What's up, YouTube? This is Unruly with my review on Man and Wasp. Now, we did see it with the crew, but I guess something happened. Simmons had to run home, something like that. Something about his house being on fire. I don't know. He'll be alright. But anyways, so I think we might just come back together on the weekend and do a review before the stream. But you get a solo review. You get a Kenny review as someone who really enjoyed the first Ant-Man. I was really pleasantly surprised by the first Ant-Man because you take a superhero that, you know, is, let's face it, I mean, of course there's going to be Ant-Man fans and everything like that, but you take a superhero that is not, you know, Wolverine, not Batman, not Spider-Man, it is Ant-Man, and like, when, you know, no offense to anybody who's an Ant-Man fan, like, when he comes to the list of superheroes, you put Ant-Man on the C list, but, you know, it was a pleasant surprise like Guardians of the Galaxy when like, let's be real, a lot of people are comic book fans, but they didn't read a lot of Ant-Man comics or Guardians of the Galaxy comics, and those two movies pleasantly surprised me. The first one, I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and I'll have to say for the second one, I'll be 100% honest, I really didn't enjoy it as much as the first, because it did same thing that happened with me in The Incredibles. It felt very kind of similar to the first, even though they were very cool and unique action sequences this time around, because now they have the Wasp, and now you have the technology of the cars getting bigger and smaller, which you saw in the trailer. So a lot of the humor did feel the same. You know, you had the cast of sidekicks and that helped with the story, and it was like the film was great, but just something that just kind of held it back for me, and I don't know, I'll have to try to put my finger on it, but I think what it is too is how Ant-Man kind of it's not like that he took a back seat, that he was kind of like really like messing up and kind of bumbling and kind of goofing up everything in this film, when I really liked him in the first film. And he was a lot more intelligent and a lot more lovable. And then I think in this one, that is kind of gone. I mean, because I think, and that's why I really enjoyed the first one, is because, like, you get this story of this guy, he's an underdog, and he's coming back, and now he gets a second chance because he was actually a really, like, cool guy that you liked and you were rooting for. And you didn't get a lot of that story development in this second one, because I'm telling you, after Ant-Man, I really liked him, and then in Civil War, I really liked him again. He was very lovable, very charismatic, very cool character, and I believe some of that was a little bit lost in the second film. Yeah, because, you know, when he reads like Captain America, hey, big fan, and I really enjoyed Paul Rudd. I believe Paul Rudd. Hopefully, I got it right. I'm sorry, it's late, it's tired. I worked a long shift, didn't watch the movie, but I really enjoyed him in the first film. And this one, he was still lovable, he was still cool, but I think some of that charm was a little bit lost. But not to say that this movie was not enjoyable. I did really enjoy it. It had fantastic action sequences that were, I think, which makes the movie very unique and sets it apart from other Marvel movies, because it just displays Ant-Man and Wasp power very well, and making for some awesome action sequences that are pretty unique, that you're not going to get when you watch other films. And along with that, we'll talk about the villain of the film, and I'm trying not to go into spoiler territory, and I'll probably do something towards the end with spoilers if you guys want to stick around. This villain was pretty awesome. It was a pretty cool villain, cool looking villain. Great concept of with powers and everything like that. And if you've seen, like I said, I think it was on whose review? Chris Stuckman's review about the Matrix twin. Super unique, really cool fight scenes when they were all fighting together. And I think that was one of the things that made the movie shine and made it very interesting to watch, is when they all got together and there was like phasing and growing and small stuff kind of thing like that. And I do think in some of the other reviews that I've seen, and from, you know, after kind of like getting almost like second opinions from other people, some of the things were a little bit convoluted, because there was another element to the movie, and there was, you know, the crime boss guy who did a good job. It was really funny, but it was just like there were a lot of things going on. There was like, you know, there was the FBI, the crime boss, and then Ghost. And I gotta admit, I think the crime guys could have just gone away. They could have done something where, yeah, like I said, it's from another review, and I totally agree. That maybe Wasp or Ghost should have had like some crew or something like that, a skeleton crew left over from her days of working as a anti-agent or being like a dark agent of Shield, because I think that just that third element to the film was just kind of a little distracting, and I think it could have gone away because it doesn't really pay off or doesn't really do anything for the plot except for towards the end. But like, if that guy was written out, he was kind of like a poor man's what is it, villain from let's say, you know, the villain from Iron Man 2, that other guy who was like, you know, the budget Tony Stark. It's kind of like just reminding me of that guy, but even lower. The guy did a good job. He was charming. It was kind of funny as a bad guy, but I just think he was just kind of like, he should have been maybe just phased out, or he could have been written as like a love interest or something like that to Ghost, and he's got a little bit of a crew. That way it just kind of all bleeds and meshes together, because I think a little bit of that was kind of sloppy. And any other thoughts on the film? The villain, very cool looking powers. I think it was just kind of it's just gonna fall towards those other Marvel movies where the villains are just a little bit weak this time around. Unique power set, really cool to see on film. You can sympathize a bit with the villain, but not, you know, it's not going to be as much as Killmonger. I'm sorry, I was like, oh, that's just because you're just like Killmonger, but no, like Killmonger actually had a super legit story. And golly, this movie kind of the more and more I think about it, the more it does remind me of Iron Man 2, because it's like, well, you know, your father did this to me, your father did this to my father, and in Iron Man 2, it's like, your father did this to my father, and I'm going to take revenge kind of thing. So yeah, anyways, I think that's kind of a little bit of spoiler kind of review. Medium spoilers, not gonna like affect the movie or anything like that. But yeah, overall, it's very enjoyable. I would say like a 6.5, and I'd give like the first Ant-Man like a 8.2, and this one's like a 7. Yeah, I give the first Ant-Man like an 8.2, and I give this one like a 7.1. I don't know, crazy scale, but overall, good movie. Like, this is a movie I would have kind of like, I would say, you know, watching the theaters, it's nice to see in a big screen and nice to see with the sounds. Maybe if you get like the discount movie tickets or something like that, a matinee on a Tuesday. But you know, that's me. Like, I'd love to get, hopefully we get the crew together and we kind of bounce off more opinions off each other. I know Max from initial talking and everything, he enjoyed the second one much more. So he liked the second one much more. I think me and Steve were on the same boat where we enjoyed the first one. So yeah. And with that said, we're going to go into spoiler talk, guys. So if you're still watching this video, well, as I'm talking, I'm going to go into spoilers of what I thought and some things that just kind of, like, I don't know, because we will talk about the after credit scene and the credit scene after that. So if you're still here, I'm still talking about spoilers. I really don't know what you're doing here. If you're here, you're like, well, maybe, you know what, I don't care. I like spoilers. I just want to hear what you think. But, you know, come back, watch the movie a little bit later, or watch the movie, come back here. But, all right, so let's get to the bread and butter. And I guess, you know what, we'll start off with the very, very, very end, which I think, which was my favorite part of this movie, was the post-credit scene. And because, you know, it gives you that answer, like, hey, well, where was Ant-Man? Where was Ant-Man during this whole thing? And a post-credit scene is Ant-Man going back into the quantum zone, and they're like, all right, guys, I'm filling up this gas tank. And they're like, oh, watch out for pocket time zones and, you know, future jumps or some, you know, crazy stuff that's like they're talking about. And all of a sudden, you know, cuts back to them and ashes. All three of them, done. All three of y'all put some respect on my name because they got turned into ash. I was like thinking, okay, maybe one, maybe two, but it made it for a hell of a cliffhanger. The second post-credit scene, do yourself a favor. You don't need to watch it. It is literally a scene that's in the movie. It's the only thing it does give you is a little bit of like, man, what happened after all the ash? Like you see the emergency broadcast system, everything's kind of quiet and kind of eerie, and then they're like, hey, here's an ant playing. So yeah, you can skip yourself, save yourself some time, but watch the first one, and man, that one is just like, whoa, okay, that's where he was, and holy ish, what's gonna happen? How is he gonna get out of the Phantom Zone? And I think that's going to play a major part in the next film. So maybe he goes in one of those time portals that I guess are inside the quantum zone and everything. But there's a lot of theories already bouncing around of what's going to happen, saying that maybe he's going to meet... Because if you kind of look at some of the Phantom or the quantum zone, it kind of looks like a lot of the special effects that were in Doctor Strange. So maybe that partly the quantum zone or the phantom zone or the whatever that zone is called will play in the next film. It just seems like that's where the energy came. So you might see I'd say you might see Doctor Strange's mentor. She might be in there or something like that. But it's going to be some crazy stuff going on. Maybe he gets in a time portal and ends up bouncing around all over time to make things happen. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but it did make me enjoy that movie much more. I believe that should have been the ending of the film instead of just the mid-credits scene, but it ended up being that. And for spoilers, what else can I spoil? That hopefully my initial review didn't spoil that much. We just talked a little bit about the villain. I believe the movie moved a little bit slower than I would have liked it, but I guess that's it. I mean, that's the only spoiler I want to talk about. There's nothing like in this movie that's like, man, if I said this during the review, the movie would be like, oh, it would be ruined. I mean, because there's no like real big thing. I mean, like we know you see, the Wasp. You can see Michelle Pfeiffer. She comes back. I mean, she's in posters, so you know that she's gonna come back in some way, shape, or form through the posters. So yeah, she comes back. She doesn't get to enjoy much of her time. She has some quantum powers. Okay. Yeah, I figured she's been in there a lot long enough, so she's got the quantum powers. Reminds me of Gravity Falls, when Ford was in that quantum realm himself and became a super badass. But yeah, I mean that's it. I give it a 7.1. It's still enjoyable, really cool to watch, and hopefully we do a review with the guys so we can bounce around and talk and see maybe if we can sway each other's scores or whatnot. But anyways, guys, that was my review. I guess I'll get ready to upload it, and if you guys enjoyed the review and want to see more content, please hit that like button and share it with a friend. It would mean very much to me. All right, guys. Peace.